The delivery room was a whirlwind of activity, a symphony of cries and hushed medical commands. 9 tiny bundles, each a miracle, lay swaddled in their bassinets, their soft breathing a lullaby to my exhausted body. I had just given birth to non-uplets, a feat that had pushed me to the brink of my endurance, but filled my heart with an indescribable joy. I looked at the door, expecting to see his face, his smile, his embrace. But he wasn't there. Instead, a cold, clinical note was handed to me by a sympathetic nurse. He had left. He had pushed me from his life, leaving me with nothing but the echoes of his broken promises and the overwhelming reality of 9 new lives. My daughters, my precious, innocent daughters, had become my only family, a bitter truth that settled in my heart like a stone. My tears, hot and silent, mingled with the cold sweat of exhaustion, a bitter stream against the stark reality of our abandonment. Each tiny cry from my newborns was a dagger to my heart, a constant reminder of the love he had denied, the comfort he had stolen. The world outside was a blur of indifferent faces, and inside, a deeper, more profound cold had settled, a cold that promised a long, arduous journey ahead, a journey I would embark on alone, with 9 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength. Subscribe to our channel for more heart-wrenching stories that will make you believe in the power of justice. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Our love story was a carefully constructed narrative, a tale of ambition and shared dreams, meticulously crafted for public consumption. He was a rising star in the corporate world, charismatic and driven, with a vision for the future as grand as his aspirations. I was a brilliant architect, drawn to the intricate dance of design and innovation. And, together, we were a formidable power couple, admired and envied by many. We met at a high-profile industry event, our intellectual sparring quickly blossoming into a passionate connection, or so I believed. He spoke of building an empire, of a family that would be a testament to our combined intellect and influence, a legacy that would shape the industry. He envisioned a large family, a vibrant household filled with the energy of many children, each one a future leader, a beacon of our shared ideals. We married in a lavish ceremony, our vows exchanged before a sea of flashing cameras and influential guests, each one a silent witness to the promises we made. He spoke of building a legacy, a family that would fill our grand home with laughter and love. I believed him, every word. He was my partner, my confidant, the man who promised to stand by me through thick and thin, through every corporate battle and every personal triumph. And when we discovered I was pregnant, not with 1, but with 9, his initial shock quickly turned to a calculated assessment of the corporate implications. He spoke of the optics, of the narrative it would create, of the sympathy vote it would garner. I dismissed it as his corporate temperament, his unique way of processing overwhelming news. I thought his ambition would embrace the chaos of a large family, that his love for power would extend to the lives we were creating. I was wrong. It was a distraction, and I was merely a part of his ever-changing landscape. NNBUT. Even then, in the midst of our shared euphoria, a subtle shift began, a barely perceptible tremor in the foundation of our grand design. His initial elation slowly began to curdle into a quiet anxiety, a simmering resentment that I initially dismissed as the natural fear of impending fatherhood. He became increasingly preoccupied with the logistics, the financial implications, the sheer scale of raising 9 children. His corporate mind, accustomed to order and control, seemed overwhelmed by the beautiful chaos that was about to descend upon us. He spent more and more time in his office, surrounded by strategists and market analysts, the light burning late into the night. Our once intimate dinners became strained, punctuated by his distracted silences and my desperate attempts to rekindle the spark that seemed to be dimming. He started taking more business trips, his excuses becoming increasingly vague, his phone calls less frequent. When he was home, his touch, once so comforting and passionate, became perfunctory, almost clinical. I tried to talk to him, to bridge the growing chasm between us, to remind him of the dreams we had shared, of the love that had brought us to this miraculous point. But he would simply nod, offer a non-committal grunt, and retreat further into himself, his eyes distant, his thoughts miles away. The nursery, once a vibrant space filled with our shared hopes, began to feel cold and empty, despite the 9 meticulously arranged cribs. The whispers of doubt, once easily dismissed, grew louder, a discordant note in the symphony of my burgeoning motherhood. I told myself it was stress, the immense pressure of providing for such a large family. I clung to the image of the man who had held me, tears in his eyes, promising our football team. But the man who stood before me now was a stranger, his heart a fortress I could no longer penetrate. The grand design was fracturing, and I, alone, was left to pick up the pieces, carrying not just 9 lives, but the crushing weight of a love that was slowly, irrevocably dying. And as the pregnancy progressed, his initial corporate calculation began to morph into something colder, more detached, a chilling transformation that left me feeling increasingly isolated. He meticulously charted my public appearances, the media coverage, the potential impact on his company's stock, but the warmth, the emotional connection, began to fade, replaced by a clinical detachment that sent shivers down my spine. He spoke of the logistical challenges, the financial strain, the disruption to his career, his voice devoid of any genuine concern for the lives we were creating. I tried to remind him of the miracle, of the joy that awaited us, but his mind seemed to be miles away, lost in the calculations of a merger I couldn't comprehend. He stopped touching my belly, stopped listening to their tiny heartbeats, his once eager hands now recoiling from the very idea of connection. The nursery, once a canvas for our shared dreams, became a sterile room filled with meticulously organized cribs and medical equipment, a cold, impersonal space that mirrored the growing distance between us. He was preparing for their arrival, but not as a father. He was preparing as a CEO, observing a phenomenon, a complex public relations exercise that had, in his eyes, become an inconvenient variable in his carefully constructed life. The whispers of doubt, once easily dismissed, grew louder, a discordant note in this symphony of my burgeoning motherhood. I told myself it was stress, the immense pressure of providing for such a large family. I clung to the image of the man who had held me, tears in his eyes, promising our football team. But the man who stood before me now was a stranger, his heart a fortress I could no longer penetrate. The grand design was fracturing, and I, alone, was left to pick up the pieces, carrying not just 9 lives, but the crushing weight of a love that was slowly, irrevocably dying. Then came the day I overheard his conversation with his chief financial officer. Not about market strategy, but about cost-benefit analysis, about mitigating the impact of the unforeseen liability of 9 children. He spoke of return on investment, of resource allocation, of the need to streamline operations. The truth, a bitter, icy wave, washed over me. He wasn't just distant, he was actively disengaged, building a life separate from mine, from ours, a life where our children were merely a corporate liability, a potential stain on his carefully crafted image. The man I had married, the man who had promised forever, was a stranger, his true self unveiled in the cruel light of his cold, calculated indifference. The grand design of our love story had not just fractured, it had imploded, leaving behind a wasteland of broken promises and shattered dreams. And in that moment, as the contractions grew stronger, I knew that the man I had married was gone, replaced by a stranger, a man capable of a cruelty that would forever haunt my soul. The crushing blow was not just the infidelity, but the cold, calculated indifference with which he delivered it, a final, devastating act of emotional violence that left me utterly, irrevocably alone. And Section 3, the birth of rejection and the unspeakable actin NTHE delivery room became a crucible, a place where life and betrayal collided with brutal force. The labor was long and arduous, a marathon of pain that pushed my body to its absolute limits. Each contraction was a wave of fire, each push a desperate plea for release. But through the haze of agony, I held onto the thought of my babies, my 9 tiny miracles, their imminent arrival, the only beacon of hope in the darkness that had consumed my world. The medical team, a blur of masked faces and hushed voices, worked with practiced efficiency, their focus unwavering. And then they began to arrive. One by one, each a perfect miniature being, their first cries a fragile symphony of life that filled the sterile room. The sound was overwhelming, a chorus of new beginnings that should have been met with joyous celebration. I counted them, my heart swelling with an indescribable love, a fierce, protective instinct that eclipsed the pain of childbirth and the crushing weight of his betrayal. 9 babies, each one a unique masterpiece, a tiny reflection of the hope I still clung to. I held the first one, then the second, then the third, each moment a precious gift, a testament to the power of creation. NNBUT, my joy was short-lived, tainted by the chilling reality of his absence, or rather, his profound indifference. He was not there. He was not by my side, holding my hand, whispering words of encouragement. He was not witnessing the miracle of our children's birth. He was out there, somewhere, pushing me from his life, his laughter echoing in some distant boardroom, oblivious to the profound moment that had just unfolded. My tears, hot and silent, mingled with the cold sweat of exhaustion, a bitter stream against the stark reality of our abandonment. Each tiny cry from my newborns was a dagger to my heart, a constant reminder of the love he had denied, the comfort he had stolen. The nurses, accustomed to the joyous chaos of multiple births, exchanged uneasy glances, their pity a palpable thing that stung more than any accusation. They gently placed the babies in their bassinets, one by one, a line of innocent faces waiting for a father's touch that would never come. I tried to speak, to plead, to demand an explanation, but my voice was lost in the exhaustion and the overwhelming grief. He remained a ghost, a cold, unmoving presence in the room, his corporate mind seemingly incapable of processing the emotional magnitude of the moment. He saw them as data points, as a complex public relations exercise, not as his children. He had calculated the probabilities, the risks, the burdens, and in his cold, logical assessment, he had deemed them an unacceptable variable in his carefully constructed life. His detachment was absolute, a wall of ice that no warmth could penetrate. The silence of his neglect was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant symphony of life that surrounded me. And in that profound, aching void, I knew with a certainty that pierced my soul that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 9 innocent lives, depending solely on my shattered strength. Their cries, a silent accusation against the man who slept peacefully, oblivious to the world he had just shattered. And then, the note. A cold, clinical note, handed to me by a sympathetic nurse. It was brief, to the point, devoid of any emotion. He had pushed me from his life. He had chosen his career, his ambition, over his family. He had chosen to discard me, and in doing so he had discarded our children. My daughters, my precious, innocent daughters, had become my only family, a bitter truth that settled in my heart like a stone. The nurses screamed, a flurry of shocked faces and desperate movements, but they were too late. The damage was done. My body, a vessel that had just brought 9 lives into the world, was now a broken mess, a testament to his monstrous cruelty. And in that profound, agonizing moment, I knew that my journey had just begun, a journey I would embark on alone, with 9 innocent lives depending solely on my shattered strength, their cries a silent accusation against the man who had just condemned them to oblivion. Nober of Khan, Section 4. The unthinkable choice and the unbreakable bond of motherhood. NTHE doctor, a kind woman with a gentle voice, approached my bed, her face etched with a mixture of concern and "He wants you to choose," she said, her words barely a whisper, yet they landed like a hammer blow. "He says he can't raise 9 children. He wants you to give them up for adoption." The words hung in the sterile air, a sentence of a lifetime of heartbreak, a cruel echo of the betrayal I had already experienced. My breath hitched in my throat, a gasp of disbelief and agony. I looked at my babies, their tiny faces, a mixture of innocence and vulnerability, their chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm. How could I choose? How could I give up a single one of them? They were a part of me, a part of him, a part of the grand design we had once envisioned. I looked at him then, my eyes pleading with him to understand, to see the love I had for our children, the love I still, foolishly harbored for him. But his face was a mask of cold indifference, his eyes devoid of any emotion, his posture rigid and unyielding. "It's them or me," he said, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth, any humanity. The ultimatum was a cruel twist of the knife, a final act of betrayal that shattered my heart into a million pieces. It was a choice he had already made, a choice that revealed the true depths of his selfishness and his utter lack of compassion. He had chosen his comfortable, unburdened life over the lives of his own children, over the woman who had carried them, over the love we had once shared. The grand design had not just fractured, it had imploded, leaving behind a wasteland of broken promises and shattered dreams. And in that moment, as the contractions grew stronger, I knew that the man I had married was gone, replaced by a stranger, a man capable of a cruelty that would forever haunt my soul. The crushing blow was not just the infidelity, but the cold, calculated indifference with which he delivered it, a final, devastating act of emotional violence that left me utterly, irrevocably alone. NNBUT in that same moment, a fierce, unyielding resolve ignited within me, a fire born from the ashes of my shattered dreams. I would not let him dictate my future or the future of my children. I would not let his abandonment define our lives. I would not let his fear and selfishness cast a shadow over their innocent existence. I looked at my babies again, their tiny hands curling around my fingers, their soft cries, a reminder of the profound responsibility and boundless love that now filled my heart. They were my world, my everything. I couldn't give them up. I wouldn't. I would raise them on my own, with or without him. I would be their mother and their father, their protector and their provider. I would give them a life filled with love and laughter, a life they deserved, a life free from the cold indifference of a man who saw them as a burden. I told him my decision the next morning, my voice steady and strong, imbued with a newfound strength born of desperation and fierce maternal love. He didn't say a word. He just turned and walked out of the room, out of the hospital, out of our lives. He never looked back. He never saw the tears streaming down my face, the tears of a woman who had lost everything and gained everything in the same breath. He never saw the unwavering determination in my eyes, the unbreakable bond that had just formed between a mother and her 9 miracles. He had chosen his path, and I, with my 9 precious children, had chosen mine. And in that choice, a new, stronger foundation was laid, built not on grand designs or whispered promises, but on the unyielding power of a mother's love. Section 5. The Crucible of Motherhood and the Unseen Strength in THE. First few years were a blur of sleepless nights, endless feedings, and a constant, overwhelming sense of responsibility. I moved into a small, 4-bedroom apartment, the 9 cribs crammed into every available space, a testament to the beautiful chaos that had become my life. I lived on welfare and the kindness of strangers, my days a relentless cycle of diaper changes, laundry, and the desperate search for affordable food. My hands were perpetually tired, my body ached, and my mind was a constant hum of worry. There were times when I thought I couldn't go on, times when the sheer weight of the world felt too heavy to bear, times when the loneliness was a physical ache in my chest. The silence of his absence was deafening, a constant reminder of the life I had lost, the dreams that had shattered. But then I would look at my children, their tiny faces, a beacon of hope in the darkness of my despair. Their innocent smiles, a powerful antidote to my exhaustion. They were my reason for living, my motivation to be a better person, to fight harder, to endure more. Their laughter, their first steps, their whispered "Mama" were the fuel that kept me going, the tiny victories that made every sacrifice worthwhile. And I learned to stretch every penny, to make a meal out of almost nothing, to mend clothes until they were threadbare. I became an expert at multitasking, rocking one baby with my foot while feeding another, reading a story to 3 while changing a 4th. My home, though small and humble, was filled with the vibrant energy of 9 growing children, a symphony of giggles, cries, and the constant patter of little feet. The community, initially shocked by my situation, rallied around me with an outpouring of support. Neighbors brought meals, donated clothes, and offered a helping hand whenever needed. Strangers, touched by my story, sent anonymous gifts and words of encouragement. Their kindness was a balm to my wounded soul, a testament to the inherent goodness in humanity that contrasted so sharply with the cruelty I had experienced. I found strength in unexpected places, in the quiet moments of connection with my children, in the unwavering support of my newfound community, and in the deep well of resilience I discovered within myself. I went back to school, my children, my constant companions, their tiny hands often turning the pages of my textbooks as I studied late into the night. I pursued a degree in early childhood education, driven by a desire to provide the best possible future for my children and to help other families facing similar challenges. It was a slow, arduous climb, but with each passing semester I felt a little stronger, a little more confident. I graduated with honors, my children cheering me on from the audience, their faces beaming with pride. I got a job, a good job, working with children, and we moved into a bigger house, a house with a backyard where my children could play, a place where they could finally spread their wings. We were a family, a happy family, a family that had been forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by hardship, and strengthened by an unbreakable bond of love. The crucible of motherhood had not broken me. It had refined me, revealing an unseen strength I never knew I possessed. Section 6. The blossoming of resilience and the echoes of a hollow life years turned into decades, and my 9 children blossomed into remarkable individuals, each a testament to their resilience and the unwavering love that had nurtured them. They were bright, compassionate, and fiercely independent, their spirits unyielding. They pursued diverse paths, some becoming doctors, others artists, teachers, or advocates for social justice, each making their own unique mark on the world. Their laughter filled our home, now a vibrant hub of activity, with grandchildren running through the halls, a testament to the enduring power of family. They knew their story, of a father who had abandoned them, of a mother who had fought tirelessly to give them a life filled with love and opportunity. But instead of bitterness, it instilled in them a deep empathy, a profound understanding of the human condition, and an unwavering commitment to justice and kindness. They learned to find joy in the simple things, to cherish genuine connections, and to value the strength of family above all else. They were a symphony of voices, each one strong and clear, a stark contrast to the silenced cries of their infancy. They spoke out against injustice, advocated for the vulnerable, and used their experiences to inspire others. They became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the most profound trauma. My daughters, once silenced by my pain, now used their voices to create a better world, a world where no child would be born into such cruelty, where no mother would suffer in silence. Their resilience was a constant source of pride for me, a living testament to the strength that had blossomed from the ashes of my shattered dreams. The scars remained, but they were now badges of honor, symbols of survival, reminders of the battles we had fought and won. And in their vibrant lives, I found my own healing, my own redemption. The symphony of their voices, once silenced by my cries, now filled my world with a melody of hope and triumph. And occasionally, whispers of his life would reach me, carried on the wind like forgotten echoes. His corporate career, once so promising, had stalled, his public image tarnished by scandals and a profound lack of empathy. He had achieved power, but at the cost of his soul, his relationships, his very humanity. He was a man who had sought to control the narrative, but had lost control of his own life. He had no family, no legacy, only the cold, sterile echo of an empty life. He had chosen to discard his own children, and in doing so, he had discarded his own humanity. He had remarried, but his second marriage had ended in divorce, leaving him with no children, no true family. His life, once a grand performance, had become a lonely, desolate stage. He was a man consumed by his own emptiness, his life a hollow echo of what could have been. He had achieved material success, but at the cost of his soul, his relationships, his very humanity. He had chosen fleeting pleasure over lasting love, and in doing so he had lost everything that truly mattered. He was a ghost, haunting the periphery of a life he had once been a part of, a life that had moved on without him, thriving and flourishing in his absence. The echoes of the past, once painful reminders of his betrayal, now served as a stark contrast to the vibrant, joyful reality of our present. My children, once neglected, were now surrounded by love, their lives a testament to the power of a mother's unwavering devotion. They had built their own legacies, not of fleeting fame, but of compassion, connection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The grand illusion he had abandoned had been rebuilt, brick by brick, with love as its foundation and resilience as its mortar. And in that rebuilding, a profound justice was found, not in retribution, but in the quiet triumph of a life well lived, a family deeply loved. And Section 7, the unseen justice and the enduring legacy. I saw him again, many years later, at a conference where one of my daughters, now a renowned architect, was giving a keynote speech on sustainable design. He was a shadow of the man he once was, his once sharp features softened by age and etched with lines of profound regret. He sat alone in the back, a solitary figure in a crowd of passionate innovators. He looked at my daughter on the stage, her voice strong and clear as she spoke of building a better future, and then his gaze drifted to me, sitting in the front row, surrounded by my other children and grandchildren, a vibrant tapestry of love and connection. In his eyes, I saw a flicker of recognition, a pang of regret so deep it almost brought me to tears. He saw the family he had so carelessly discarded, the legacy he had so foolishly rejected. He saw the love, the joy, the connection he had so foolishly traded for a life of solitary ambition. He saw the vibrant lives he had chosen to abandon, and in their success, he saw his own profound failure. He tried to speak, his lips moving silently, but no words came out, only a choked sob that was quickly stifled. He turned and walked away, his shoulders slumped, his steps heavy, disappearing into the anonymity of the crowd. He didn't need to say anything. The justice was evident in the vibrant lives of my children, in the strength of our family, in the unwavering love that had blossomed from the ashes of his abandonment. My miracle had not lost its father. It had simply found a better path, a path illuminated by the unwavering light of a mother's love. Justice, I realized then, was not always about retribution, about seeing him suffer. Sometimes it was about the quiet triumph of resilience, the enduring power of love, the profound joy of a life well lived, despite the pain inflicted by others. He had pushed me from his life, but he had failed to extinguish my spirit. My daughters, once my only family, had become the fertile ground from which a new, stronger family had blossomed, their lives a vibrant testament to the true legacy of a mother's unwavering love. And in that moment, as I looked at my beautiful, thriving family, I knew that the true legacy was not in the physical scars he had left, but in the unbroken spirit that had emerged from the crucible of pain. It was in the laughter of my grandchildren, the unwavering support of my children, the quiet strength that had carried me through the darkest of times. It was a legacy of love, resilience, and the profound truth that even in the face of the deepest betrayal, the human spirit can not only survive, but flourish, creating a tapestry of life more beautiful and meaningful than any grand design. My miracle, once met with rejection, had become my salvation and the enduring testament to the power of a mother's unwavering love.